What is up, everybody? Welcome to Pub Sports Radio and welcome to the Draftkings Picks and Prediction Show. We are here with Weezy, Gordo, and Monk breaking down UFC Charlotte. We got Jailton Almeida going against Jairzinho Rozenstruik. We'll kick it to you first, Weezy. Are you looking forward to this 12-fight slate?
I am. This is a fun card, man. We got some debuting fighters. We've got some good all-action matchups, and they're going to have to be exciting matchups, Brady, because we got to get up at the crack of dawn to watch these fights. And I know that you're probably going to be up maybe a little bit earlier than I am to watch these fights, but still, I don't like getting out of bed before a certain hour. And this is going to be one of those days I'm going to have to do that, but at least I get to watch fights.
Yeah, it's going to be a very, very early card, which is kind of weird. Like, why are they doing it so early? But it is what it is. We got Gordo. Gordo, welcome back after a 2-week hiatus.
Yeah, no, happy to be back. Happy to be talking to fights in the brand new setup. So hopefully there's no echo. Everything is going okay. But we're back for a barn burner, guys. We got Mandy Böhm on the card. Sorry, Mandy Böhm. I got to say it correctly. We got ourselves a -600 in the main event. It is an interesting card, but one that I think there's a lot of possibilities for on DraftKings, and I'm excited to hear your thoughts on it.
Again, last but not least, we got Monk. Monk, what is up? You looking forward to this card?
Absolutely, especially when you look ahead to next week's card. We're pretty much rolling in. We're like pigs in shit in this one. We should be extremely happy because next week is pretty rough. But yeah, we got another Omaha guy, back-to-back Omaha guys on the card, and Anthony Smith. We'll see if Karl Williams chase Sherman happens for a second time. We're doubling down on that, so anything is possible.
Yeah, I remember I had like 90% combined ownership between Williams and Sherman, and then 1 minute after lock, it gets canceled. So yeah, hopefully that doesn't happen again. That ruined my whole night there. So we'll see. But yeah, before we get into it, if you guys can, please leave a like, subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio. We'll touch on some prize picks later in the show as well. But yeah, I say we just jump right into it, guys. All right. We're going to start with the fight to target, which there are a couple on this card that really stick out. I'll kick it to you first, Gordo. Which is your favorite fight to target this week?
Oh, to me first, what an honor. There are so many to choose from, which I kind of went with one that I didn't expect you guys to talk about that much. So I went with Levy Rodriguez. I know that there's a ton of other options to go up top, but for me, for this one, I thought this one's going to go a bit overlooked with the people who are so expensive in this card. And you have a really high scoring matchup here. We have a guy in Natan Levy who we know is going to go out there, shoot takedowns, have the possibilities for some rinse and repeat in that side. Whereas Rodriguez is a guy who has power. And although we haven't really seen him at this weight class, we know he has first round finish upside. We know he has the ability to break the slate at this price tag. So when you have two fighters, which a bit of unknown, but one of them usually gets early finishes, a high score is very likely in my opinion. So I think that this one does go overlooked and it is a good one to target.
Oh, I like it. I have a lot of it. For me, I'm going to go with Johnny Walker, Anthony Smith. It's around -400. Fight doesn't go to decision. But what I like a lot is just these price tags. 8,200 for Johnny Walker, 8,000 for Anthony Smith. Johnny Walker, a 95% finish rate. Anthony Smith, a 92% finish rate. These guys have been finished a combined 19 times. I think somebody's going down here. Somebody's going down probably early as well. If I had to make a slight lean, it would be towards Johnny Walker. But I don't trust that guy. But what I do trust that this fight is going to score well, it's going to finish, and at these price tags, I'm going to be all over it. Weezy, what is your favorite fight to target for this week?
Yeah, I figured you guys would talk about those fights, so I wanted to give one that probably wasn't going to be talked about, and that's Matt Brown versus Court McGee. Matt Brown fights are always chaos. Very high probability of finishes in all of his fights, which makes Court McGee like a lot more rosterable than he normally would be in most other matchups. Both these guys have DraftKings rates of at least 3 points a minute. Matt Brown scores 3 points a minute. Court McGee scores 3.43. Court's always high volume, and Matt brings fights where bodies hit the floor. So in addition, both guys are priced reasonably. So that makes it easier to get to guys like Almeida or Ulberg in your lineups this week. So whether you're going with Court McGee or whether you're going with a nice underdog option in Matt Brown, I think either one of them is a nice little cornerstone to a lineup to get to a lot of other fights that you normally wouldn't be able to get to.
Yeah, I have a lot of Matt Brown this week. I love the salary savings for him. So, yep, tons of Matt Brown for me. Although I'm actually picking Court McGee to win. It's a salary thing this week for me. Monk, what do you like for your favorite fight to target?
I can't believe I'm fourth and I get to talk about the main event, Jailton Almeida and Jairzinho Rozenstruik. I mean, this is somebody's getting finished. I'd be completely shocked if this went all three. It's either Rozenstruik very quickly, which I'm hoping will not happen, or it's Almeida, however the hell he wants once he gets Rozenstruik on the ground. Between these two guys, there's 9 fights since 2021. 7 of them have been finished 6 of them, either them or their opponents, have gone to the optimal lineup. So I absolutely love this fight here, and probably not the last time I'll be saying Jailton Almeida's name in this show.
Heck yeah, I'm glad somebody touched on the main event. I have a ton of it as well. All right, so let's move on to the fight to fade. And yeah, not a ton of options to stick out, but I'll go with the obvious one. I'm going to fade Ji-yeon Kim, Mandy, Böhm, and actually think that Ji-yeon Kim scores solid this week. It's just I don't see her scoring more than Jailton Almeida. Anybody in the Walker Smith fight, I don't see her scoring more than even Morono, Karl Williams, Ulberg, Levy. There's just so many options this week that are above her and below her that I think score more. So yeah, I think she probably wins, probably does beat Böhm, probably scores solid, but I don't think she has the same upside as the other guys. Monk, what fight are you fading this week?
Yeah, that was probably one of them. I'm gonna go a bit different here and go with Ian Machado, Garry, and Daniel Rodriguez. I think this is gonna end up being a 3-round striking battle. If any grappling or wrestling happens, it's either somebody got rocked or it's completely accidental. As far as optimal lineup goes, like in complete opposite of the stats I just read you for the main event. Again, out of 9 fights, 4 of them have finished. Only twice has them or their opponents been to the optimal lineup, compared to 6 times from the fight before. Or 7 times rather from the fight before. I just like a lot of other fights in this area. I'll have a decent amount of both guys, maybe kind of, average. In fact, we'll get to it later, but in my opinion, D-Rod's probably going to be one of the highest owned dogs on the entire card. So a lot of people will be on him, might have to look to pivot, but yeah, that'll just add to my fade for the overall Machado, Garry, and Rodriguez fight.
Yeah, I don't like much Machado, Garry, but I do like D-Rod. That I'll talk about him in a little bit. Gordo, which fight are you fading this week?
Yeah, of course, it's the Böhm Kim one as well, but I'll talk about a different one. Morono Means is one I'm having a little bit less ownership than I anticipated on, purely because it's so hard for me to get to Morono above the people in this, above everybody else in this price range. I mean, at 8.8, I do think he wins this fight, but he doesn't have that same grappling or finish upside that I think the people above 9K do, and I do think he is a decently popular pick to win this week as well, so I don't know if I'm getting too much of him. And other side of things, Means, I don't know really where he is at this point of his career. I do think he's someone who can land a knockout. I just don't think it's too plausible all the time. So I find myself a little bit less ownership than I anticipated. But it is that Kim Böhm fight that I do have the least ownership of.
And last but not least, Weezy, which fight are you fading?
So yeah, I'm with Gordo on this one, Morono versus Means. I mean, the other ones that you guys mentioned are also good options, but yeah, Alex is only scoring 2.77 DraftKings points per minute, and he only allows 2.56. Means is scoring 3.28 per minute and allowing 2.8. So neither guy spends a lot of time in control time positions or wrestles much, and neither guy has been much of a finisher at the UFC level, as Morono has only finished 3 of his 11 wins, and he's the favorite. And Means has finished 6 of 12 in the UFC, but his last 3 wins were decisions. So it seems like a good, solid fight to fade.
All right, moving on to the fighter to fade. For me, it's going to be Ian Garry, 9,000. It's just hard to get to Ian Garry when you got Almeida up there. You have Karl Williams up there, which I'm going to have so much of. And then even like Natan, Levy, and Carlos Ulberg, I can't get to Ian Garry. If he does win this fight, I don't see it being a knockout. I don't see him going out there and taking down D-Rod consistently. If he does win, it's probably a point fighting fight that goes the full 3 rounds, and I don't see him outscoring those other guys. So yeah, pretty easy fade for me for Ian Garry, not going to have much, if any, out of all this weekend. Weezy, which fight are you fading this week?
Ji-yeon Kim. I mean, I do think that there is a small possibility that Ji-yeon Kim gets a finish here, but if she doesn't, I could see this fight being greasy. No wrestling upside for Kim. She's never even gotten a UFC takedown. She's only landed 1 knockdown in her UFC career. So unless she gets a knockdown or a stoppage, it's very unlikely that she's going to pay off that $8,900 salary when her DraftKings work rate is 2.7 DraftKings points per minute. So at that price, you're looking at about maybe a little over, at that work rate, you're looking at like maybe a 71 point total and a decision win. So yeah, at 8,900, it's just a pretty easy fade this week.
Yuck. Monk, how about you? Which fighter are you fading this week?
Excuse me, not a ton of them, but I'm going to echo what Weezy said here. It's got to be Ji-yeon Kim at the insane price of 8,900. You take out that Nadia Kassem fight, which was a catch weight fight. Somebody either missed weight there or it was a late notice replacement. So just her 3-round women's flyweight fight, she's 2-4 in the UFC. She's averaging 62.39 points per win. Just like Weezy said, like 2.7 a minute. She's getting outscored basically everywhere, especially inside the distance. Like less than 2 points to 3.21 allowed. She has, in my numbers, the lowest ceiling on the entire card. I just don't see how anyone could roster her at all at 8,900. If she scored more than 80 points, I consider that basically an anomaly to where her career is going. She's 1-4 in her last 5, I think. So I'm willing to bet against the fact that she comes nowhere close to making the optimal lineup, even in a win.
And Gordo, how about you? Which fighter are you fading?
You know what? I wish I had something else to say. I wish I had another fighter to really fade, but I got to echo all those sentiments. It's really hard for me to get to Kim. I think you can make a lot of a big case, for a lot of these other fighters at this price range, but her not so much. I got to echo that.
Sounds good. Easy enough. All right. We'll move on to our favorite dog. I'll let you kick this one off, Weezy. Who's your favorite dog this week?
I put Daniel Rodriguez this week. Daniel's a veteran who's fought a very high level of competition, which we can't say the same about Ian Garry. We've seen Garry lose moments to Jordan Williams and Song Kanan on the feet, and Daniel's southpaw boxing has always been difficult for his opponents to deal with. I like D-Rod to win this fight. The hype on Garry is huge, and it's causing us to get D-Rod at a very cheap price that will free up much-needed salary this week. Rodriguez is scoring 3.64 DraftKings points per minute, and that nice work rate is still there despite the fact that T-Rod only has 1 UFC takedown and 3.29% control time for. So he doesn't need to grapple in order to score a lot of points. So my message to Ian Garry, you guys, don't drop the soap, pretty boy. This Daniel Rodriguez is going to be coming for your ass if you do.
Yeah, for sure. I went with the same thing. It's just that the price tag's wild. 7,200 for a guy that lands over 7 significant strikes per minute against a guy that blocks punches with his face. I think it's a close fight. And at 7,200, I'll definitely take my shots there. Gordo, who's your favorite dog this week?
You know what? That's some very good points there. I liked him as a dog as well, but I'm going with Tanera Lisboa as my underdog this week. And again, this is not necessarily one where I think that she goes out there and she should be deserving to being a favorite. I just think that although there are a lot of question marks on her, that leaves a lot of potential, a lot of opportunity for her to go out there and add another loss to Jessica Rose Clark's record. I mean, we've seen that Jessica Rose Clark is someone who can be controlled, who can be submitted. And I think that the path to victory for someone Lisboa is to catch her with something like that, who does have some good finish equity here. And I think that sandwich in between people like Silva de Andrade and Anthony Smith, who I think are going to be popular underdogs, Lisboa is going to go decently overlooked here. So I think she is someone with a pretty high ceiling.
Yeah, that's solid. And she's a favorite now. So she's like minus 121 and sitting at 7,800 on DraftKings. So I don't know if I agree with it or not, but you're getting a ton of value there at 7,800 according to the line there. Monk, who is your favorite dog this week?
You guys have heard of Jacqueline Amarim? You remember that? Tim Means, 7,400. I'm looking for a little pivot off of Daniel Rodriguez here. I think Rodriguez is going to be owned 40% probably. He's going to be far and beyond the most owned dog on the entire card, and probably for good reason. So I'm looking for a pivot. Give me Tim Means over Alex Morono. As far as DraftKings go, their numbers are basically identical. There's pretty much no groundwork between the two of them. Let's see here. Tim Means spends 28% of his fight time inside the distance, whereas Morono's barely over 20. Excuse me. I mean, Morono scores 81 per win, 85 per win in welterweight fights. Tim Means scores 89 per win in welterweight fights. So we're basically getting the same guy as far as DraftKings go. One's just a bit older than the other one, but we just saw the younger one get smacked by the older one and lose the fight in the third round when Ponzinibbio came through and knocked out Morono. So anything could happen here. But if we're getting the same stats for one guy's 8,800 and one is 74, I'm going to take the 74. So give me Tim Means as a nice little pivot, hopefully, off of Rodriguez.
All right. What we'll do now is we're going to go to our prize picks section here. Let's see. There it is. Use that promo code Pub Sports for a 100% deposit bonus up to $100. I have not looked at Prize Picks yet because when I went to do it, they weren't even out yet. So I'm going to see what they got. So I'll start with you, Monk. What did you like for Prize Picks this week?
There's a couple of them. I'm going to go risky and probably different than anybody's going to say. I'm going to go Jessica Rose Clark. I just have to decide which one. I'm going to go over 1.5 takedowns landed. I think she's being, disrespected. She's obviously bringing it on herself. Yes, she has been submitted a few times. The other girl, Lisboa, also been submitted. Lisboa's strength of schedule is like less than 50, one of the lowest I've seen in forever. Her last 5 opponents combined record is something abysmal, like 5-7 or 2-7, something crazy like that. So I'm going with the established UFC vet. Hopefully she's not completely checked out of her fight here and could be a sneaky little play. But give me the over 1.5 takedowns for Jessica Rose Clark.
All right, Gordo, what do you got for some prize picks this week?
Yeah, I'm pretty heavy on the Cody Stamann over 1.5 takedowns. I think that line's a little bit off. I know he hasn't done it recently, but he's getting an opportunity here against a guy in Douglas Silva Andrade who is going to have the power edge. And I do think it's going to be Stamann having the opportunity to wrestle, have the opportunity to put Silva Andrade on his ass. And with the get-up game we've seen Douglas have, it could go out there and repeat takedowns. At 1.5, I think it's a little low, especially for a guy who's able to land 5 against Song Yadong, 3 against Aljamain Sterling, 2 against Brian Kelleher. I think Cody Stamann has the potential to go out there and land takedowns, and I think 1.5 set a bit too low. So give me the over.
All right, and Weezy, what do you like this week for prize picks?
I like Natan Levy under 9 minutes of fight time. I really do believe that this fight is going to finish inside the distance. I think that Pete Rodriguez has got a ton of finishing equity early on in the fight. And because Pete Rodriguez is cutting down to 155 pounds for the first time in his career, there's going to be a high probability that we either have an adrenaline dump after this fight gets out of the first round, if it does. And I also think that he's going to, carry a lot of power for a lightweight. So there's a good chance that he could knock out Natan Levy. And also, we don't know really anything about Pete Rodriguez's ground game. Pete Rodriguez has never been out of the first round as a professional. And as a matter of fact, his stats indicate that in his 6-fight professional career, that career has lasted 9 minutes. 9 minutes in 6 fights. So I love an under in a Pete Rodriguez fight. Add the fact that this is the first cut down to 155 when he's normally fought at 170 and 175 and even some middleweight fights as an amateur. Yeah, let's go. Under 9 minutes. The time left.
What's wrong with lasting 9 minutes, Weezy?
Which
now, that sounds 9 like a long time, bro.
yeah. I mean, that's a long time in a lot of things, but for a professional mixed martial arts career, it's actually very short.
Fair enough. Thank you for explaining. I'm going to go with Ian Garry under on the fantasy score. 94.5 is a lot for a guy that I don't see finishing or taking him down. So even if he does win, I don't see him scoring 94.5. So I'm taking the under there. If you guys want to check it out, use that promo code PUBSports. And we will move on then to our favorite GPP play. We'll start with you, Gordo. What are you liking this week?
Yeah, for me, GBP is pretty simple. Let's go main event, Jailton Almeida. This guy is DraftKings gold, and he does have, the opportunity to be bonked by someone as strong as Jairzinho Rozenstruik, but I do think a lot of the time he adds to that high-scoring repertoire he has. I mean, he scored 125, 120, 113, 118. I think he's got the very good stylistic matchup on paper, and I do think, despite the high salary, he is GBP gold, so give me Jailton Almeida.
Yep, I like that one. I'm going to go with Natan Levy, 9,100. I think he's going to have some ownership, but I think he's going to be lower owned than like a Karl Williams or a Jailton Almeida. And I think if Levy wins this fight, I'm going to expect takedowns here. And I think he can finish Rodriguez as this fight goes on. Rodriguez cutting down to 155 for the first time, just pulled out of the fight a couple weeks ago. I'm not sure why, but he's never seen a third round, never even seen a second round. And he's only ever been over one half a round just once. So if this fight does get extended, I do favor Natan Levy, and I think he could sub him here late second or third round, mixing in takedowns along the way. So yeah, like some Levy for a GBP play, 9,100. Weezy, how about you? Who do you like for a GBP play this week?
I'm going to give you guys Karl Williams this week. He scored 130 points against Lucas Bresky, and this matchup versus Chase Sherman is very similar stylistically. It's hard to get both Almeida and Williams in any lineup, so I'm choosing Williams over Jailton. He's $200 cheaper, and he's less dominant with his control time positions, which allows for more takedowns. Usually once Jailton gets you down, you stay down for the rest of the round. While somebody like Karl Williams, I think, got 5 takedowns in the first round against Lucas Bresky. So, I think that he could get a finish here. Karl Williams could, because Chase Sherman is so terrible on the ground. But even if he doesn't, like the 5+ takedowns and over 10 minutes of control time that he would get in a decision win if the fight went that way would still be a huge effort on DraftKings.
Yep, I like it. I'll be talking about him very, very soon. And then Monk, how about you? Who are you liking as a GP play?
I mean, it's Jailton Almeida. I might have him in 100% of my lineups this week, guys. After the Movsar Evloev fight, Movsar has scored more in 4 fights than Almeida by 1 point, 1.07 DraftKings points over Almeida. Other than that, though, Almeida is basically the best DraftKings player that we have. He's outscored his opponents 96-1 ratio. 96-1. He's allowed 5 points in 4 fights. He's $100 cheaper than he was last time. Made the optimal all 4 times he's been in the UFC cage here. Rozenstruik is he's like Derek Lewis, but like worse in a way, knockout or bust. He scores 1.36 points a minute in his last 5, but yet 118 per win. He got taken down. All I should have to say, really, he got taken down by Cyril Gane twice, 2 times. By Cyril Gane, taken down. That should be all we have to say here. This should be easy Almeida. If he can avoid 1 punch, basically, this is going to be over. He might shoot on him before Rozenstruik even gets the punch off. And also Almeida scoring, 9 takedowns total in his last 4 fights. 3 of those 4 didn't even leave the first round. So he is landing takedowns several times in a round, or a couple times, I should say, per round, and the control time is literally almost off the charts, over 94.1% in every single fight. So give me Almeida to score a gazillion points.
I sure hope so. Because I'm going to have tunnel as well, Monk. So we'll see. Moving on to our favorite cash play, Monk, we'll stick with you. Who are you liking for cash this week?
Favorite cash play? Well, I could just say the same thing, but I'll go with my second favorite, which is going to be, if this fight actually happens, by the way, Karl Williams. I mean, Chase Sherman, Karl Williams scored like 6.67 points inside the distance in his fight. In 14 fights, Chase Sherman's 4-10 in 3-round heavyweight fights. He gives up 6.2 points a minute inside the distance. Karl Williams should have a field day here. This should look exactly like the Bresky fight. And much like I said for Almeida, Williams should have no problem scoring a gazillion points here. Even though it is against a UFC veteran, we're talking about Chase Sherman here. So give me Karl Williams. I'll have a ton of him in cash.
Yep, same thing. Karl Williams, 90 for 100. Chase Sherman, terrible takedown defense, worst ground game in the UFC. I think Williams smashes and puts up a big score. So yeah, I'm going to try my best to get Williams and Almeida in the same cash lineup, which I have done. But I do have a bum in my lineup, so we'll see how that works out. But yeah, really like them both in cash. But Karl Williams, 90 for 100, I think he's very much in play this week in all formats, really. Gordo, who's your favorite cash play this week?
Yeah, I think there are a few options for cash, but I'm going to go Karl Williams. I mean, I don't want to talk too much about him, but I do think his floor is pretty high here. I don't see Sherman sparking him early on, and we know that from past history, Williams has gone in there. He has shot early, and I do think that he has the opportunity to dominate on the ground, considering how much of a fish out of water Sherman looks there. So I think Williams has a very high floor as well as a high ceiling. I do think that his loss condition for Williams is typically later on, and I do think he has a pretty high floor there. So give me Williams.
Perfect, then. Weezy, how about you?
I'm going to go with Carlos Ulberg. Ihor Potieria is going to run into a dick saw on Saturday, ladies and gentlemen. There's really no way around this. New Zealand, stand up. Your boy Carlos Ulberg, representing City Kickboxing, is going to punt Ihor Potieria's head into the cheap seats on Saturday in Charlotte. And the good fans there are going to make some delicious barbecue out of Ihor's severed head. While I won't be there to savor this delicious barbecue in person, I will be there in spirit, and my DraftKings lineup will be racking up points with this week's torch carrier for Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week, Carlos Black Jag Ulberg. Let's go.
Let's go. All right, moving on to the favorite value play of the week. We'll start with you, Monk. Who is your favorite value play this week for Carolina?
Let's see here. I'm probably going to go with Matt Brown. Honestly, I'm picking Court McGee to win here, but I think the line is too wide. I wouldn't pay 8,700 for either one of these guys. So give me the cheaper guy at 75. Like I mentioned earlier, at some point, Matt Brown has to retire. So one of these fights will be his last. And I do not play guys that retire. So hopefully this is not his retirement fight, but his nickname is the Immortal. So if anybody can have one more fight, it's probably him. Scores almost 100 points per win over his last 2 wins. And in the weight class, he really doesn't score poorly at all. Almost 100 again over, what is that? He's like 15 and 12 in 3-round welterweight fights, and he's averaging just under 100 points per win in 15 wins. So, I mean, controls, let's see, has a 65% defense, takedown defense, spends 60% of his fight time in the distance, controls almost 40% of that fight time, and he can still crack. So give me Matt Brown. Hopefully he can score well here in possible decision against Court McGee.
Matt Brown, the Immortal, 42 years old. We'll see how many fights he has left. Weezy, who is your favorite value play this week?
Yeah, I'm going with Matt Brown as well. Court hasn't finished a UFC win since the year 2010. Brady, what were you doing in the year 2010? Can you tell me?
I was like in middle school.
Yeah, dude, it's been a long time since Court McGee has finished a UFC opponent. So even if Court wins, if he doesn't finish Matt Brown and you get 15 minutes out of him, you probably get around 45 points. Plus, Court is coming off a vicious knockout loss to Jeremiah Wells in his last fight. So if Matt does catch him and get a finish at 7,500, Matt Brown's probably optimal. He's kind of a high floor and high ceiling option that's priced really affordably at 7,500. You know, both times that Court McGee's been finished in the UFC, it was in the first round. And that's when Matt Brown carries most of his power. So if you look at that potential as the upside, and then you look at the other side that, you know, Court McGee really doesn't finish guys, it just feels like a safe play this week. Good value.
Yep, for me, I'm gonna go with somebody that I think has good value in a win here. Like if Pete Rodriguez goes out there and gets a win, I think it's going to be early in the first round. All of his wins come in the first round. All of his wins come under 1/2 of a round. We've seen Natan Levy hurt before. He's going to go out there. He's going to fight for your money. He's going to try to take off Levy's head. I think he probably does lose, but his path to victory is that first round knockout. So 7,100, I'll have my fair share of some Pete Rodriguez looking for an early finish here. Gordo, how about you? Who's your favorite value play this week?
Yeah, I don't mind the Matt Brown thing, but I'm going to disgust myself with this value play. Let's take Mandy Böhm, 7.3. Again, not one I think wins a lot of the time, but I think her win condition is going to involve some cage pushing, slowing the fight down, and maybe getting some takedowns. I think her best attribute here is her physicality. And I don't think it's something that happens very often, but at 7.3, there is some potential value there because I do think it goes all 15, and I do think she has some opportunities to slow this fight down. Disgusting me to say, but I do think that there is some viability. But man, not very pretty.
A very disgusting play there, Gordo. But I have her in my cash lineup, so we'll see if you're right. I hope so. All right, we'll move on to our dart throw here. I'll kick it to you first, Weezy. What do you got for the dart throw?
Okay, so I'm going to be going with Jessica Rose Clark at 8,400. Jess is now an underdog in this fight. However, I do like her to win. The fact that you have to pay 8,400 for an underdog who's on a 2-fight losing streak means that she's going to be super low owned. But Jess can absolutely wrestle, and we haven't seen Lisboa's ground game tested yet on the available tape. Jess is a good kickboxer too. She's the better wrestler and grappler because we know we've got 19 professional fights with Jess being out there against before Tenora Lisboa was even a mixed martial artist. You know, Jess was out there fighting Sarah Kaufman. So, I just kind of feel like people are making an awful lot of assumptions betting on Tenora Lisboa this week. The combined record in MMA of the 5 women that Tenora Lisboa has beaten is 2 wins and 11 losses. So I'm going to say Jessica Rose Clark is an expensive option this week, and she's on a 2-fight losing streak. But as a result of those 2 conditions, we're going to have a very low-owned fighter with a lot of grappling upside here. So I'm going with Jess.
No, I like it. That's really sneaky. If she goes out there and wrestles this girl for 15 minutes and it turns out she's a bum, I think she'd be super low owned. So yeah, I do like that. For me, I'm going to go with the ultimate dart throw. And that ultimate dart throw is one Jairzinho Rozenstruik. I mean, this guy has the death touch. It's only going to take one. He probably doesn't get an opportunity to land one, but if he wins, I seriously think he gets a 60-second bonus because Jailton Almeida is going to go out there and he's going to shoot a takedown within the first 30 seconds. And once Jailton Almeida does get that takedown, I think it's over. So Jairzinho is going to have about 30 seconds to land a big shot. And it's possible. I mean, this guy hits very, very hard. So does it happen? Probably not. But if he does win, he's going to break the slate. So give me some Jairzinho Rozenstruik for the ultimate dart throw there. Gordo, who are you looking for a dart throw this week?
Yeah, Jairzinho is the ultimate dart throw, but I'm going to take this opportunity to go a bit different and just talk about I want to call it a dart throw, but let's talk about some Ian Garry here, because I think that Deanna Rodriguez is going to be the most popular underdog for a lot of reasons. I think, and especially in cashing, be very, very popular. Whereas Ian Garry, although he is favored, it's going to be really hard to get to. I mean, Natan, Levy, Carlos Ulberg, Karl Williams, Jailton Almeida, these are all people who have very, very high ceiling and people are going to gravitate towards. But I do think that Ian Garry has the opportunity to go out there, be a bit overlooked and have a decent path to victory. I mean, a lot of people expect him to stand and bang, and whereas I expect him to do that as well, I do think he has a grappling advantage if he decides to go there. We can't rely on him to do that. That's why I want to count him as my dart throw, but I do think that if he does win this fight in a particular way, he does have a pretty high ceiling that should go very, very overlooked. 9K gets a little bit of a sprinkle from me in there.
There you go. Yeah, I think he's going to be the lowest own in that 9K range, so could be worth a shot. Monk, how about you? What is your favorite dart throw?
I'm gonna go with. I was gonna go with Mandy Böhm, but that's pretty clear. She's probably one of the better dart throws this week against a 1-4 person in the UFC. But I'm gonna go with Ihor Potieria as a little dart throw here. I think this one definitely finishes. Ulberg has been finished in the past. Also, he has not always finished his fights and tends to score very poorly when he does not get that finish. He did not finish amazing fighter, the Water Buffalo, Fabio Charant, scored like 69 points in that fight. So I like Potieria here. I think the gap should be a little bit closer. Mostly, I just wanted to say like he should be pretty low owned because people just hate this guy because he celebrated after he knocked out a legend. And I'm just going to say, if you got mad because someone celebrated after they knocked out a legend, you should go watch baseball or something, a sport where unwritten rules are really smiled upon. Because here in the UFC, if you don't want somebody to dance on you, don't get knocked the fuck out. How's that? Don't take the fight in the first place if you don't want to get danced on, and don't get knocked the fuck out. So I think Potieria should be pretty low owned here, and I think he's worth a decent little dart throw at 6,900.
Apparently, you're off the Friday show for making this your dart throw.
Oh, that's cool, man. I'll take a fucking nap. I'm good.
for picking against sexy Ulberg, lose words, not mine. All right.
Yeah, well, we should have picked against the sexy fighter last week too. Drew Dober got knocked the fuck out 2 weeks in a row. Sexy fighters going down. You never know.
I don't know what's going on. Andrade.
Yeah, but don't forget Jandaroba had a clean win, so let's not start lying about trends.
I didn't say handsome. I said sexy. They're different.
Come on.
That's true. Andrade is pretty sexy. She got knocked out in the first round.
Yeah. There's always counterpoints to the data, you know?
Yeah. Okay, guys, let's go over the lineups. I don't really want to talk about it because I did very poorly, but we will talk about it here. All right. So in fourth place was myself with, there's so many messages. There we go. Fourth place was myself. I had Chaos Williams with 84, Mosvar Evloev 119, very handsome. Jessica Andrade only 4, Verna Jandaroba 95, Crone Gracie. How'd he score 41? How'd he score 41 points? That makes no sense. Is that true, Monk?
Yeah,
he did nothing.
I checked it. It seems like he scored 41.
I was expecting like a 5. My goodness. And then Phil Haas scored 6. Perfect. 352.64 for myself. In third place was Monk. Evloev 119, Ribeiro 110, Andrade 4, Cejudo 72, Crone Gracie 41, Devin Clark 26, scoring 375.10. In second place was Weezy, Evloev 119, Nzechukwu 104, Ribeiro 110, Cejudo 72, Gracie 41, and Phil Haas 6, scoring 455. And then in first place, Gordo with a monster lineup this week. Evloev 119, Ribeiro 110, Porter 103, Cejudo 72, Muhammad 82, and Rivola 115, scoring 603. Congrats, Gordo. You got it done.
Yeah, I'll take it too. A week right into my research, maybe I should trust my gut more often. But no, I hopefully can build off of that one because this one's not very pretty in my lineup right here.
Yeah, me and Gordo have been trading back and forth first place for the last couple weeks. We'll start with fourth, though. We got Monk is at 5,700 DraftKings points. Weezy's at 5,809 DraftKings points. I'm at 6,258. Gordo's at 6,373. So that means I am now 115 behind Gordo. Got a big lead there. We have Weezy, who is 564 behind Gordo. Then Monk is 672 behind Gordo. Congrats, Gordo. You are back in first after just a monster week.
We've been swapping though, so this is your turn then, right?
I hope so. We'll see. All right, but I have a bum in my lineup, so I don't know if I can catch up. But lineups for this week, Gordo, we'll start with you. What do you got?
Yeah, this might change, but maybe it shouldn't considering the track history. But we're going to go with Jailton Almeida up top. Then we're also going to take Karl Williams as my anchors there. In the middle, we are going to take Cody, Stamann, and Lisboa. We didn't really talk about Stamann this week. And as my underdogs, I'm going to take D-Rod, and I'm going to take Matt Brown.
All right, Weezy, what do you got for this week?
Okay, so up top, I've got Karl Williams and Carlos Ulberg. And then we've got Jessica Rose Clark, and then Johnny Walker, and then the two underdogs are going to be Matt Brown and Daniel Rodriguez.
All right, I'm taking Jailton Almeida, Karl Williams, Douglas Silva de Andrade, Daniel Rodriguez, Alex Morono, and Mandy Böhm. Monk, what do you got for this week?
I'll do Jailton Almeida, Karl Williams, Jessica Rose Clark, Douglas Silva de Andrade, Tim Means, and Mandy Böhm.
Perfect. All right. Let's see what we got next. Answer some questions. We'll give some quick picks, and then we'll head out of here. I saw some questions a little bit earlier. If you guys have any questions, throw them in the chat. We'll get to them right now. This one can go to Weezy. Preston saying, Court McGee versus Matt Brown. Is this 2012?
Yeah, these guys have been around forever, and both of them have stats that predate my database, which started on January 1st, 2013. So, yeah, 2012, both of these guys were in the UFC, in the welterweight division, making a lot of noise. It is not 2012, Preston. It's 2023, and the UFC is burning off some contracts, my man, and we're going to be seeing a lot more fights like this in the future.
Yep, should be a fun one, though. I think it's going to be a fun fight. This one can go to you, Monk, because I'm sure you know this. We have Lou saying, what was the salary for the Williams Sherman fight on the canceled fight? Moneyline hasn't changed, and Williams now has a full camp.
I thought it was pretty close, but honestly, I don't remember.
I remember Sherman was 8,800, and then Williams was like 91 or 92.
Was it a short? Oh, who was Sherman's original opponent?
Fat Barnett.
That's right. Yeah. So yeah, that was a cursed fight from the get-go.
Yeah. Let's see if we got anything else in here. This one is for me. Yes, I was in middle school. What year were you referencing, Weezy? 2010?
Yeah, 2010, dude.
Yeah, I was in the sixth grade, I believe.
That's the last time that Court McGee got a finish. It was over Chris Jensen. Jensen, ladies and gentlemen.
My goodness. Yeah, that was a long time ago. This one could be for Gordo. Lou's lots of questions from Lou. Appreciate you, Lou, with all the questions here. Lou's saying, am I back in for Gordo on the panel next week? You clearly have an insane person on YouTube. I think this is because of the Mandy Böhm call.
Yeah, he also said I'm in a jail cell too. I don't know what's going on. Him coming after me like that. Maybe he does have to take my place. Who knows?
He's keeping a prisoner because he says I'm kidnapped. He says you're in a jail cell. A lot of references to prisons and being held captive. I think Lou's got to answer some questions of his own.
Maybe it's a cry for help too, man. I don't know how he did last week. I appreciate him stepping in for me, but these are some fighting words.
My guy, as the kids
I'm in his country now too, so you better be careful.
Oh my.
His country. At least he's giving you respect, Lou.
There we go. What the? Okay, Lou, got you. All right. I think we did it, guys. We're gonna give our quick picks and then we shall head out of here. Uncle Weezy, we'll start with you. What do you got?
All right, I'm going through them right now. So main event, I've got Jailton Almeida by first round submission. I've got Johnny. I don't even remember who I picked in Anthony Smith first. We'll say Anthony Smith by first round knockout. Daniel Rodriguez by decision. Ulberg, first round knockout. Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. We got Alex Morono by decision. Court McGee by decision. Karl Williams by third round knockout. Cody Stamann by decision, Levy by second round submission, Ji-yeon Kim by decision, Bryan Battle by decision, and Jessica Rose Clark by decision.
Sounds good. Gordo, what are your quick picks for this week?
Yeah, we're taking Jailton Almeida. Hot take up top. We're going to go Anthony Smith, actually, in the co-main. We'll go Ian Machado, Garry, Carlos Ulberg, Alex Morono, Court McGee, but I'm really tempted to take the shot at dog on Matt Brown. We'll take Carl Williams, Cody Stamann, Natan Levy, Ji-yeon Kim, Gabe Green, and do I have to pick for this one? We'll go to be a bit different. We'll take Tanara Lisboa, although she is the favorite right now, but I know you guys on the other side.
Oh, I'm not even probably watching that fight, to be honest. I might show up to the stadium a little bit late just to skip that one. But I'll go with Jessica Rose Clark, but no confidence in that whatsoever. Give me Gabe Green, Ji-yeon Kim, Natan Levy, Carlos Ulberg, Douglas Silva, Andrade, Carl Williams, Court McGee, Alex Morono, Daniel Rodriguez, Johnny Walker, and Jailton Almeida. Monk, what are your quick picks for this week?
Well, you won't see me skipping any kind of Jessica Rose Clark fight. I'll tell you that much right now. She sets a very good fighter, and I just love her technique. That's why I like to watch her. Give me CM Monk with 9 and 12 last week. All 12 finish props he nailed. So we're gonna give his picks: Jessica Rose Clark decision, Gabe Green decision, Ji-yeon Kim decision, Levy decision, Douglas Silva de Andrade decision, Carl Williams finish, McGee finish, Tim Means decision, Ulberg finish, Machado Garry decision, and then 2 finishes to end it off: Johnny Walker finish and Jailton Almeida by finish.
Perfect. All right. All that's left is we're gonna kick it around here. Weezy, what are your plans for the rest of the week?
Tonight at 10 o'clock, Ask Weezy on Uncle Weezy's YouTube channel. Come check in, get into the chat, and I'll answer any questions you have about any of these fighters, any of these matchups, any of these prize picks plays, any of these DFS plays you're thinking about making for UFC Charlotte. Let me know what you need to know, and I'll bring out my database and all the information I have at my fingertips, and I'll answer those questions for you. And other than that, the only other order of business, Brady, is to stack cash tickets like flapjacks for UFC Charlotte. And then in addition to that, bathe in the blood of our vanquished Draftkings enemies. Let's go.
We got to enjoy this card because next week's card is rough, to say the least. So, Gordo, what are your plans for the rest of the week for some content? I saw you got out a DraftKings video earlier.
I did. I'm back in town. I filmed that one a bit early just because I was so excited to talk fights again. But that is out on the Plays and Fades YouTube channel. Full card DraftKings and betting breakdown there. I will also be recording with Brett Apley tomorrow for Daily Fan MMA. We always record the premium podcast every week. And after this, I'm finishing out projections also on the Daily Fan website. But that's all for me. Check me out on Twitter at GamblesGordo, YouTube, Plays and Fade Sports.
Monk, what do you got going on for the week?
You can check out Game Theory over on the Monk Maddox channel. Just did a kill shot with DFS Army, me and Marley on that earlier today. And you can find me and the aforementioned Lou Betya Friday, 4:30, 5:30 Eastern over on the MMA Engine channel doing happy hour. So excited to watch some fights. Guys, get your lineups and bets in early. Again, this is an early card, 10:30 Central, 11:30 Eastern. So get them in early.
Sounds good. Then I'll be going live on Friday twice. I'm going to do my final thoughts live stream after the weigh-ins, and I'll be doing best bet around 7 o'clock Eastern after Monk and Lou show there. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Enjoy the card. Leave a like, subscribe to Pub Sports Radio, and we'll talk y'all very soon. Best of luck. See you.